So I'm Akbar, and I'm going to be talking about our paper in this video. So our paper is called Growth Dynamics of Australia's Polar Dinosaurs. So this paper focuses on dinosaur specimens from the state of Victoria, Australia, where the majority of dinosaur material collected has been from small-bodied ornithopods called hypsilophodontids, which lived during the early Cretaceous and are the polar dinosaurs referred to in the title of the paper. The authors also note that the use of the term hypsilophodontids here is informal, as hypsilophodontids are considered a paraphyletic grouping, meaning that it is a grouping that includes the most recent common ancestor but not all of the descendants. So the question being tested is there microstructural evidence suggesting that at least some polar dinosaurs hibernated? In terms of methods of analysis, the researchers collected the tibia and femur bones of several hypsilophodontid specimens and sliced these bones thinly in order to observe cyclical growth marks called lines of arrested growth, as well as annuli. They found that the smallest hypsilophodontid femur and tibia had well-vascularized tissue that was typical of rapidly growing animals, and they found that these bones lacked growth marks. The larger specimens, on the other hand, had parallel fibered tissue and at least 7 lines of arrested growth visible, though more may have been lost due to remodeling. The pictures on the slide are sections from the bones of the specimens, and the arrows in the top image indicate the annuli. The bottom two sections are, from left to right, high altitude and lower altitude specimens, on whose importance I'll elaborate on in the next slide. Because the smallest hypsilophodontid femur and tibia lack growth marks, this implies that these bones may have been from individuals less than 1 year of age. In the larger individuals, up to 3 growth marks interrupt the deposition of the tissue, indicating an initial 3-year period of rapid growth. As well, the parallel fibered tissue and multiple lines of arrested growth reveal that growth slowed significantly but still continued for several years until skeletal maturity was reached. This slowed growth was initially thought to be due to hibernation. However, despite the variability among the lines of arrested growth and annuli within the hypsilophodontid samples, the cyclical growth by ornithopods from higher paleoaltitudes resembles patterns observed in dinosaurs from lower paleoaltitudes, indicating that growth dynamics in these higher altitude specimens were similar to lower paleoaltitude specimens, or dinosaurs. Indeed, while lines of arrested growth can form as a result of slowed metabolic processes during hibernation, these growth marks are not exclusive to hibernators. Thus, the researchers concluded that the presence of growth marks alone can't support a hibernating behavior. And so, while it's likely that polar dinosaurs had specialized behavioral and morphological adaptations to cope with the environment, there are only some possibilities that can actually be tested with fossil bone analyses. Ultimately, the researchers did find that cyclical suspensions in growth and high growth rates early in life would have allowed these dinosaurs to establish themselves in ecological extremes without also requiring a change in their physiologies. Having rapid growth early in life is thought to have reduced the time these dinosaurs were sensitive to predation and environmental stresses, and having periodic suspensions in bone deposition conserved resources during seasonal stresses, allowing polar dinosaurs to successfully exploit a hostile high-latitude ecosystem. And the data in the table, just to refer to it, simply shows the bones examined by the researchers and the number of growth marks that they observed on the tibia or femur of any given specimen. And as for our concluding thoughts, this paper directly ties into what we've talked about in class, acting as an interesting example of application with regard to skeletochronology and lines of arrested growth and such, while tying into other aspects such as hibernation in this case. And so, as a final summary, we see that these employed methods are similar across other papers which involve analysis of growth and reproduction in dinosaur specimens.